This is Marty with Marty's Diesel, and today's video I'd like to talk a little bit about the CP4 that comes in a 6.7 Ford Powerstroke. Mainly because we get phone calls about this pump very frequently. My office has to handle these phone calls very frequently, and I just want to kind of make a video that kind of sums up like the three products that we typically offer for CP4s for these trucks. So the very first thing is, if you have a good running truck and we check for metal in your fuel system, we don't find any, or maybe possibly you have recently had a complete fuel system done, the quickest, fastest, easiest, cheapest thing that we can do is an S&S disaster kit. Basically it bolts onto the back of the fuel pump here, and it diverts the diesel fuel that was used in the crankcase portion of the pump and sends it back to the tank, so that in the event that this pump ever goes out and sends metal out, instead of it going to your injectors, it'll go back to your fuel tank, which then gets filtered, and you don't have to worry about it trashing all of your injectors. I think it's about $400 right now is the price for the disaster kit. Maybe it's 3-4 hours, whatever it is, to install it. It's not that bad, but it is basically like our entry-level way to kind of prevent basically the metal from getting into the injector. So the CP4 pump can still fail, and if it does, it just takes out the pump basically itself. Pretty much the next thing that we do, and I would say it's probably the most common thing that we've done for the last, I don't know, couple of years, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. We've been doing the CPX pumps. They are offered in a stock configuration, a 10% over configuration, and a 30% over configuration. Pretty much we offer the CPX in the stock configuration for bone stock trucks. We almost always put the 10% over in if the truck has got a tune on it. And we pretty much never really install the 30% over, because even though it says Marty's Diesel on the back and Marty's Diesel Performance on my building, we don't really do the performance aspect of it as much anymore. It's more or less, you know, the run-of-the-mill stuff is what we kind of focus on here. So anyway, the stock pump is somewhere around $1,000 if it's for like the first 1 or 2 generations of the 6.7s, and then I think when we get into the 2020s, it might be $100 or $200 more. The 10% over, I think, is $1,300 right now for the early, you know, generation 6.7, and then the later model, I think, is a couple $100 more. One of the reasons that I like the CPX is because it's a direct bolt-in. It looks just like this, but basically it has a built-in basically kind of like an S&S disaster prevention kit built into it. The idea behind it is that it's still a CP4, it's direct bolt-in, it uses all the same gaskets, all the same hardware, all the same lines. It just sends the lubricating diesel fuel that went to the pump itself back to the tank, instead of putting it in with the you know, the injectors and the fuel rails and so forth and so on. I do like the CPX as well, because we can put those things in. They run really well. They do the S&S disaster prevention kit. You know, basically the same thing. They do that very well. I like them because they're relatively inexpensive when compared to the next level or the next step that I'm about to talk about. I don't really have failures out of the CPXs. They do have all of the updates. I think it's like pinned lifter buckets and maybe a couple of other things that I'm forgetting right now. But long story short, we've had good luck out of the CPXs, and we do like to use them. But I will caution anybody who uses the S&S disaster kit or the CPX kit. If you ever have a low pressure fuel pump failure, you can still vacuum fuel out of the lubricating area of the pump, and it will go to your injectors if you don't have positive fuel pressure. And that's one of the reasons that we don't offer like a CPX or something along those lines to the LML guys that have CP4s, because they don't have a factory lift pump, okay? So anyway, the next level, it is the more expensive option, is we will swap this CP4 out completely to a DCR setup. It's made by S&S. From the top of my head, it's $2,400. It's definitely a good 40% more time for install. There are some modified lines that you've got to put on. We have had some failures out of those lines that come from S&S. S&S has taken care of us on those lines, but it is still a failure point that, you know, I need to make sure I tell all of my customers about. The DCR will never mix the lube fuel with the actual injection fuel ever, so you don't have to worry about that. The DCR we haven't experienced any failures with, just like the CPX. You know, the DCR is kind of like the end-all be-all pump per se that we can put on here, but it obviously is almost twice as expensive as doing a CPX. You can almost do 2 CPXs for the price of 1 DCR. So most of the time we sell and we stock the CPX pump because it's been a staple here at our shop for a really long time. So hopefully this video kind of shows you the 3 things that we like to do here at our shop, and basically, you know, you just got to pick the one that fits your budget, you know, the best, and maybe what... All right, sorry about that. We just had a truck pull up and I had to answer a couple of questions. But hopefully, like in conclusion here, I can, you know, send this video to my customers, have my employees view this video, and basically you guys can make the best decision, whether it's your budget or depending on whatever, you know, all the individual situations are with your truck. Like if you just had a fuel system done, if you just had a complete overhaul or needs to have a complete overhaul done on the engine or even the fuel system, on which pump to actually go with. So hopefully that'll clear up any questions that we have, and unless something changes, this is probably going to be how we go moving forward for a very long time. Thanks for watching.